I used to struggle a lot with being creative and coming up with my own ideas. And actually, what I'm gonna tell you now is a bit embarrassing, but about a year ago, I started my first YouTube channel, and it was meant to be all about self improvement. And I actually just wanted to make a YouTube channel trying to help people, but the problem was that I couldn't come up with my own video ideas, right? I had spent like 3 years in doing self improvement. I had the knowledge, but I just couldn't kind of dig it out of myself. I couldn't actually make it into videos. So I ended up just kind of stealing other people's videos, their titles, thumbnails, and basically the whole content of their videos, and then just recreating it in my own on my own channel. And I really didn't want to keep doing that, but I just couldn't make my brain start coming up with my ideas and be creative. So eventually, I just gave up on that idea completely, and I thought that I just couldn't do it until I figured something out. And I did this one thing, which I'll teach you in this video, that finally unlocked that part of my brain that's responsible for creativity and coming up with ideas. And I have to be brutally honest with you, bro. This world has been developed into a system that's designed to build you into a mindless zombie. Because look, man, there is something that's just innately wrong with the kind of life most people are living today, isn't there? Like, do you feel that life is just not supposed to look like this, right? And actually, like millions of other men around the world share the same thought. And it's because it's true. We weren't made to live the kind of lives that this world is telling you that you should live, that this world is forcing you to live. Let me show you something, yeah? In the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 27, God says that you are made in His image and His likeness. In His likeness, what does that mean? That means that you also take on God's nature as a creator. Okay? So it means that it is in your nature to be creative, to build, to create, to innovate, to invent. That is what you're made of. Like, look at the whole history of humanity compared to especially like other animals, right? In the whole history of humankind, we've been building, innovating, inventing, building like civilizations, cities, creating tools. We've been creating for our entire existence, right? Oh, but bro, like birds also build nests. Like, listen, that's not the same thing, okay? Other animals do not have the same privilege. You are made in the likeness of God, the creator of heaven and earth, okay? You take on His nature as a creator. You're meant to create. But this world has been built in order to center your life around consuming and following orders. And we're surrounded 24/7 with endless opportunities to consume and just outsource basically your entire life with social media, the TV shows, movies, video games, all this nonsense that's been specifically like engineered and designed to steal your life away from you. Because what happens when you keep consuming is that your brain switches off, like your brain stops developing that part of it that is responsible for creativity and making up ideas, because it doesn't need to anymore. It's the same as like when guys who take like steroids, right, and their balls and like their balls become like little raisins because they're like outsourcing their testosterone, right? They're taking testosterone like artificially, right? So their body doesn't need to produce testosterone anymore. So it says, don't, no point wasting like energy and like survival resources from food into sustaining in the case of steroid user, like their balls, because their balls don't need to produce testosterone anymore, so they just like shrivel up and become nothing. It's the same with your brain. Like when you keep consuming and you actually kind of inhibit your brain from developing the creativity, you're allowing your brain to you're telling your brain, yeah, you're telling your brain that it doesn't need that part anymore. Like it doesn't need to develop it, so it just like makes it dormant, puts that part of your brain to sleep. And you end up outsourcing all of your ideas, all your entertainment, all your thinking And actually, you're basically, when you're consuming like social media on scrolling or just watching YouTube or TV shows or playing video games, especially these things, when you're like doing that stuff, you're basically taking your consciousness, placing it into this fake digital reality, and you're outsourcing your whole life. And that's exactly what all of these things are built for, to steal as much of your life away from you as they possibly can. And do you want to know what's even worse? Yeah, all these like geeks and these nerds in these big tech companies are paid thousands, hundreds of thousands to use psychology and science. They have literal like, they're spending millions conducting like scientific research on how they can maximize the addiction potential of like social media and like all the video games and all this stuff and TV shows and all this. Like, bro, this flipping device right here is specifically engineered for years, designed to steal as much of your life away from you as possible, bro. Their goal is to keep you hooked on like social media scrolling or playing video games for as long as possible, because that's maximizing their like profit. They basically want to destroy your life so they can gain as much like money and power, so then they can go on and maximize their own like instant gratification. So that's how they're stealing away all your free time in your life away from you in these like fake digital realities. And then they also force you to go to like schools where you're basically just taught how to obey commands and follow orders and listen to like the authority figure. They're not at all teaching you how to actually use your brain, how to think critically and be creative and make your own ideas. Nah, because they don't care about it. Their only concern is making you a good worker. Literally just a good little slave. It's not at all your fault that you've been forced to go through this life and through all this nonsense. But it is absolutely your responsibility to take action and to stop living this like evil, twisted version of your life and begin developing the gifts that God gave you and begin growing your creativity and your nature as a creator. Because look, I really want to stress this, yeah? You are not bad at being creative or making up ideas, not at all. You just never got a chance to develop your nature. And by the way, I have to say, if you made it so far into the video, bro, congratulations. Actually, I'm so proud of you, because I don't like put editing and like all these hyper edits, all this stuff in my video, because I just want you to sit down, pay attention, and I actually care about your concentration span. So amazing props to you, bro. Congrats. So now the actual practical stuff, after my emotional rant. How do you actually start coming up with your own ideas and start developing your creativity? Well, number one, you have to stop consuming. And this is the hardest, okay? But it's absolutely necessary. You have to stop outsourcing all in your life and your thinking and your creativity to technology and all this nonsense. And you just have to break away from it and allow your brain. You have to force your brain to start developing it. To start developing that part of your brain that's responsible for creativity. And you can do this in many different ways. But the most like practical, easiest way to do it is to actually take all the things that you've learned in your time consuming and try to teach them or express them in your life in whichever way feels most natural to you, like writing or speaking or drawing or singing, like woodworking, metalworking, cooking, baking. Any kind of, like, you're supposed to have these kinds of hobbies in your life, and they contribute massively to that part of the brain that's responsible for creativity. Not like me basically spending the vast majority of my life in video games and like movies, bro. Because look, video games and movies are not hobbies. They're just like escapes from your reality that you don't enjoy living in. You have to stop consuming and force yourself to find hobbies that will make you start creating things, start building things, start actually using your creativity. Force yourself to be creative every single day instead of like scrolling or playing video games when you get bored. Try to find some hobbies, try to experiment, try drawing, try cooking, try baking, try crafting something out of wood, or literally just stay in silence Yeah, completely disconnected from like the whole world. Just stay in silence and allow your brain to finally get some peace, and start like processing all the things that it went through while like consuming, because all these things that you consume build up in your brain. Okay, so you're gonna need some time to allow your brain in just peace and silence to process it, or journal and write, and like just allow your brain to like dump it all out. Because look, man, your creativity is like a spark when you're trying to build a fire, and all this like consumer media is like a big bucket of sand, and you have the spark, you have the creativity in you, but it just never got a chance to like grow into a big flame, because you just kept pouring this bucket of sand over it, like suffocating it with like the consumer media and outsourcing all your life. It's gonna be really hard in the beginning, especially in the beginning. And I'm gonna be real honest, yeah. When I first like stopped consuming completely, I like eliminated all of it from my life. For about 2 weeks, I spent mostly doing just nothing. That's how much time I needed to first of all like just like eliminate the cravings, and also to take out all the like the sand that had been piled up in my brain, and for the spark to finally begin slowly growing and growing into a big bonfire. And personally, some of the things that helped me a lot through that stage, the beginning stage of just pain, of digging out all the sand, and fighting all the cravings, all like that, like the cravings for to fall back into this addiction of consuming. There were three things that just kept me sane. Yeah, number one was reading the Bible, number two was prayer, and number three was journaling. Because look, bro, God is always right here with you. He's the one guiding you. He's the one who's captaining the ship, right? But you're the one who has to row. You're the one who has to choose to stop consuming and start following the path he prepared for you. You gotta stop consuming and start actually putting to practice your creativity and the gifts that God made you with. Because the goal of this world and its evil leader, Satan, its ruler, is to turn you into like a mindless zombie, just a slave, unable to produce any thoughts of your own. And why? Because Satan doesn't want you in your complete power. He doesn't want you with your complete free will and free thought. He doesn't want you to access the full power of your creativity, of your nature. Because when you do, you will be completely free from all the addictions and all the weapons and all the tools that he has in this world, that he built to keep you locked down, to keep you chained down. Because you will become more connected to God, Jesus Christ, than ever before. And when that happens, like all the people that run this world, Satan and all his wicked army, all their weapons, all their like addictions that they've built in this world, they're all futile. They become nothing, powerless against you. They're cooked, bro. Done. Finished. Like GG, bro. Game over. They're nothing. You basically like enter creative mode and they're playing on hardcore. Like it's completely unfair how much you can annihilate them. Once you stop being a consumer and start fully accessing your like creator nature, okay, made in the likeness of God, bro. Remember that. So this is crucial. Spend time with God, okay? Read your Bible, spend time in prayer, find out the gifts and the talents God made you with. Go out and make some new hobbies, okay? Go start exploring different things that you might like, okay? Maybe different sports. It could be whatever like things that are forcing you to like actually use your imagination and start like being a bit more creative. Start forcing you to like build things and make things, like arts and crafts, whatever. Go out and find some hobbies, bro. Okay, and spend time with God, and you will start walking in the power of your nature and the power of Jesus Christ. So I hope that this video blessed you, brother. Amen.